meeting of the Westfield Parks and Recreation Board. Terry, will you please call the roll so we can confirm who's in attendance?
Present.
Okay, here we go. Mike Antrim. Here. Curtis Baumgardner.
Present.
Julie Grimmer.
Present.
Mike Hall.
Here.
Leanne Zintz.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, I'm calling the meeting to order at 7:01. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, I don't believe we have any changes to the agenda today, so do we have a motion to approve this meeting's agenda as prepared and a second?
I move to approve this evening's agenda as presented.
I second.
Any discussion? All right, seeing none, Terry, will you please call the roll for vote on the motion?
Mike Antrim.
Yes.
Curtis Baumgardner.
Yes.
Mike Hall.
Yes.
Julia Grimmer.
Yes.
Leanne Zintz.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Moving on to the public comments portion of the agenda. Mr. President, are there any members of the public that would like to address the board?
There are not this evening.
Okay, moving on to the minutes from our last meeting. Trusting that we have all reviewed those minutes, is there a motion to approve the minutes of the November 6, 2024 regular meeting of the board?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion? Okay, Terry, will you please call the roll for vote on the motion?
Mike Antrim.
Yes.
Curtis Baumgardner.
Yes.
Julia Grimmer.
Yes.
Mike Hall.
Yes.
Leanne Zintz.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries, and we move on to old business. And we don't have any items of old business. So moving on further down the line to new business. We have 2 items of new business to discuss today. The first is a proposal from Noblesville Creates, Inc. for the development of a strategic arts master plan for the city. The action we are being asked to consider is to authorize the department, with the assistance from City Legal Counsel, to enter into a services agreement with Noblesville Creates for that work. Chris, will you please provide an overview of the proposal, highlighting the connection to the Parks Department interest and any additional comments you may have about Noblesville Creates?
Absolutely. First of all, Noblesville Creates is a really reputable arts organization. At one point in time, they were known as Nickel Plate Arts. So they've been doing this for quite some time, came highly recommended. The object of this activity is, just as it is stated, is to create an arts master plan for the entire community to help better guide us in our public art selection as where it should go, and how the community can interact with that art, not only visual art, but also performing arts as well, and what we might be able to do as a Parks Department to better provide art and performing arts in our facilities. The reason that the Parks Department is heading up this is because a lot of this art, both visual art as well as performing arts, will take place in facilities that we manage. We do manage all of the right-of-way as well as the roundabouts, and a lot of this art will end up in our roundabouts as part of the landscape design of those roundabouts, as well as a lot of the art, especially the visual art and the performing art, will end up in our parks as murals, statues, those types of things. That's kind of the high-level overview of the master plan. It is scheduled to happen, begin the end of this year, happening through 2025. And as you can see at the bottom of the document, if I can get there, it has, where'd it go? Yeah, the cost is out here. Phase 1, which is really going through a strategic master plan as well as a stakeholder meeting and public input, is around $8,000. Phase 2, which is putting together the plan, is $25,000, and then Phase 3 is, which is implementing the plan, is a $12,000 cost. happy to answer any questions the board might have.
Are there any other questions or comments for discussion? Okay, I see none. So do we have a motion to authorize the department director and city legal counsel to take actions necessary to finalize engagement with Noblesville Creates for the Arts Master Plan, consistent with the scope of services and costs that are set out in the proposal?
Madam President, I move to approve a professional services agreement with Noblesville Creates Incorporated to develop an arts master plan and authorize the Parks Director and City Legal Counsel to take all actions necessary to complete the contracting process.
Is there a second?
I second.
Terry, will you please call the roll for vote on the motion?
Mike Antrim,
Yes.
Curtis Baumgartner,
Yes.
Julia Grimmer,
Yes.
Mike Hall,
Yes.
Leanne Sins.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. The next and last item of new business for today is an overview of the Parks Department budget for 2025. This item is informational only. No action is required because the budget has already been approved by the City Council. Chris, will you please provide the board with a review of the department's budget for 2025?
Absolutely, more than happy to. So obviously, as the first slide shows, our budget aligns with the mayor's pillars. Those pillars are transparency and accountability, empowerment and continuous improvement, and then quality of life and quality of growth and livability, which are something obviously that are very important to the Parks Department. Some of the key aspects, we'll be adding a new staff member next year, which is a forestry specialist, so that we can better address some of the needs of our urban forests throughout the community. We are also we are adding dollars so that we can increase our parks programming options in the community and have a better presence, providing opportunities for not only the youth, but all of Westfield. Completing the design work of the Simon & Moon Phase 2 park expansion, something that's been long overdue, which is the construction of a restroom at Freedom Trail Park, and then amenities at potentially a new site that we'll take on next year, and then some other minor activities that will go on that will help secure our parks and provide more beautification throughout the city. So those are the kind of the high-level activities. Let me zoom in on this so you guys can see it. This is a breakdown of those dollars. I won't get too much into the weeds on this. Some of the things I'll highlight, our salary line item has gone up, but it is providing more dollars to our staff to get them closer to their median pay range, the middle of their pay range, so we're more competitive with our counterparts throughout the community. Some of the other things, obviously, that we've increased, one of the big ones that we've increased is our services line. This is for all of our landscaping activities that we do throughout Westfield. One of the big reasons this has gone up so much is because we do have $1 million in here for landscape enhancement of roundabouts throughout the community. So there'll be 6 roundabouts that get landscaped this year as part of those dollars. Some of the other high-level things, also in this services line item, as we've added about $12,000 to help expand our programming options throughout the community. And then we also have at the bottom $50,000 for a new program, which is the Neighborhood Vibrancy Grant Program and Green Space Beautification that will help offset costs to HOA of replacing landscape within the right-of-way within their communities. And then, so that is all of our general fund dollars, and the total dollar figure is here at the bottom, which is just over $3.4 million in operations. And then the next page is our park impact fee budget. Our park impact fee is a non-reverting fund, and we will be using some of that to help complete the construction and document process of Simon Moon. And then the other $1.2 million is allocated to, like I said, build a new restroom at Freedom Trail and add a restroom and playground to the Woods family parcel, which is a parcel just north of 191st Street and will act as our northern trailhead for the Monon. So that's a very high level overview of the budget. I am happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
I have a question about the HOA program.
Yes.
It sounded like it was a new one for 2025. Do you have is there an estimated time frame when it's going to be sort of like announced or, and sort of framed up so people can access that resource?
It is in the process of getting all of the legal sections of it taken care of. We're going to pass an ordinance, and it will be announced, and the grant program, so it is let me kind of back up. It's a cooperative program, not only with the Parks Department, but also in cooperation with our Community Development Department as well. And it will offer a grant program to HOAs for neighborhood enhancements of certain types. It'll be a 2-to-1 grant program, up to $10,000. And there will be 2 callings for those grants. One will be in January, and then the second one, I do believe, will be in July.
Is there information already available?
There
about that?
there are some one-sheeters that are available. I'm happy to share those with the board, but it will be announced at the weekend meeting, which is tomorrow night. I'll be talking about it to a lot of HOAs at that meeting, and the mayor did announce it at his State of the City address, which was 2 weeks ago.
Okay, any other questions that people have?
Chris, can you talk a little bit about, other than holding developers accountable, what other things will the forestry specialists do for the city?
So they will assess right-of-way trees and their health, and they will also, and that's a big part of this. Unfortunately, a lot of our right-of-way trees are old farm road trees, and they weren't specifically planted to be a right-of-way, a street tree. It just happens that's where they were. They were along an old county road. And we will use their expertise to help assess what's healthy and what's not. And those that are a eminent risk to the public, we will identify and remove those. And that'll be a big part of his role or her role, as well as holding developers accountable and actually going out into new developments and making sure that what is put in the ground is what is on the landscape plan. It's something that city hasn't been doing very well because of lack of staff. Adding this is just the tip of the iceberg. We're going to have to add more over time, obviously, but we really want to make sure that what is getting put in the ground not only is what's supposed to be there, but also is sustainable long-term. And the best way to do that is to make sure that we have a staff member holding those developers accountable to that activity.
Thank you.
Quick question, do we have a requirement for developers to use natives? So that it's already in place? So
It is already in place. That'll be another part of our landscape manager, as well as this staff member's role as well, is to fine tune that list. Currently, the list that they're held the most accountable to is our street tree list, because those trees are very specific and have a very specific purpose. And I wrote that list in 2012, and I think 90% of them are native. All of them are not invasive. We've taken all of the invasive ones off a long time ago. But we do have a much more extensive list that needs updating, and the goal here is to use as much as possible native species, and species not only that are native, but hopefully locally sourced trees as well, because they're going to do better in our environment than stuff that comes from other states.
I have a quick question. Do we know the 6 roundabouts that are getting enhanced?
I do. I don't know them off the top of my head, but I'm happy to send them to you. I know some of the ones that are key are 161st in Union, 191st in Chad Hiddle. I want to say 169th in Spring Mill. The ones on 30, none of the overpasses on 31 will be done at this point in time. There are a couple others that I can share you the absolute list with you, though. I'm happy to do that.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, seeing none, and with there being no action needed on this item, we will proceed to the director's report. Chris, turning it back over to you for your report.
Thank you, Madam President. Appreciate that. So I don't have a tremendous amount, not really. So some of the things we have going on right now, obviously, if you didn't notice, the ice ribbon opened on the 23rd of November. It's been pretty successful. We've had a little bit of a struggle given the temperatures. No one's really seen a lot of use of their ice, but still we have some brave-hearted people who have come out and enjoyed the ice ribbon. It'll be open Thursday through Saturday through the 21st, and then starting the week of the 23rd, it will be open Monday and then Thursday through Saturday, both that week and the week of the 30th. And then we'll finish the season there right after the first of the year. We will host, as part of the ice ribbon being open, we will host a sensory skate in partnership with the Mayor's Council on Disability. This is to provide an opportunity to some of our residents and their kids who might have sensory issues or any other type of developmental issues to be able to come out and use the ice ribbon in a much more controlled environment that's more comfortable for them. That happens on the 15th of December. We'll have 2 sessions that day, one at 2:30 and one at 3:15. Simon Moon is moving along. Unfortunately, we've seen some delay due to the weather, but we're still hoping for substantial completion by the end of this month. And then 100% completion will be stretched into the beginning of the spring, but not outside what was stipulated in the contract. So it will be done by spring and be ready for use in the spring, as well as phase 2 construction in the spring. The master plan is moving along. The draft was submitted and accepted by the state on the 15th of November. We're waiting to hear back from them. It could be a day, it could be a month. They're reviewing about 150 master plans at once, so it could take them a little time. While we're waiting for that, we will start on the next steps, which is a second stakeholders meeting that hopefully will happen sometime this month, and then the adoption by the board, and that tentatively will happen at the January meeting. And we can discuss the January meeting as we get further along. And then finally, we have our last big event of the season that's coming up on Saturday, which is Westfield and Lights. And so we will cooperatively host that with Westfield Welcome. It runs from 3 to 6 at Grand Junction, and it includes crafts, llamas, mini horses, face painting, Anna, and Olaf. Food vendors, and Santa Claus will be there, and Mrs. Claus as well, and then we will also do the tree lighting at 6 p.m. So if you haven't been, it's a wonderful time. It does draw a huge crowd. It's probably our second largest event outside of Westfield Rocks the Forest, and we'll draw somewhere between 3,500 and 4,000 people. So if you haven't been, please come out and join. It'll be a wonderful time. And I am happy to answer any questions that the board might have on any other thing involving the parks.
I don't see any questions, so thank you very much, Chris, for the detailed report and your responsiveness earlier. So we'll move on to other business. Does the board have any other items or comments to discuss at this time?
Our next meeting is scheduled for January 1st. I'm presuming we're going to move that.
Yeah. That was a discussion Madam President and I had prior to the meeting. I would recommend moving it. We have a little time to make a decision. We can obviously, based on the board's calendar, could move it to the following Wednesday, which is the 8th, or we can pick another day based on what other meetings might be going on. I don't think you as a board need to make that decision tonight, but it is something I think that you need to discuss, because as I stated in my director's report, we could be, the board might be asked to adopt the master plan in January, and I don't know if I'm comfortable delaying that until February.
Okay. Well, hearing of no other items for discussion, we will notify the public of what we do with the next meeting. But hope you all have a nice New Year's holiday, since we won't see you on our regularly scheduled cadence. Now that we are at the end of the agenda, can I get a motion to adjourn and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Terry, will you please call the roll for vote on the motion?
Mike Antrim,
Yes.
Curtis Baumgartner,
Yes.
Julie Grimmer,
Yes.
Mike Hall,
Yes.
Leanne Sins.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries, and the meeting has officially adjourned at 7:19.
Bye, everybody.